Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's Sunday, November 21. It's 2010. No themed daily today, but it is, of course, Day 9 Daily number 221. The Day 9 Daily where we learn to be a better gamer. And, of course, if you are exceptionally excited about just meeting other gamers, too, and you live nearby Sweden, going to DreamHack tomorrow. I get on the plane, I believe at 4 p.m. or 2 p.m. It's one of the two. So, at the very least, I will be going to Sweden to say hello to everyone up there. And in addition, I will be doing coverage of DreamHack's Invitational Tournament that has a whopping like $15,000 prize pool. It's a very big prize pool, and there's all sorts of good name players, a lot of which have been announced. There's some of them that I think were like 90% certains, but couldn't be announced yet. So there's like potentially going to be even better players, or even more better players than there are before. I want to be like, there's potentially going to be even better players, because it's like 60 of the best players in the world. I'm like, yeah, there's going to be better than those 60 garbage-ass top 60 players in the world. Anyways, Daily's actually starting a little bit late today. Oh, goodness, it's 7:18 instead of the usual 7:05, or as I like to call it, 7:07, because I'm slow. And for any of you who are having any troubles on the stream, there's just this thing that happens where one of the most important things with streams is just to go live early. Because if there's like 1,000 people sitting around waiting for me to go live, like at 6:30, everything will sort of stabilize and look okay. But if I'm trying to connect with like 8,000 people, because I went live at 7, which is what happened today, then it gets a little blocky. It gets a little hard to connect to, because there's like a whole bunch of people just going F5, 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 connect, connect, connect. And Ustream's like, oh my god, new connection, another new connection, quick, send out more new connections. And then of course, that manifests itself as lag. In exciting news, we're doing a daily on a little Protoss vs. Zerg action. Now, I will say to my dear little Zerg buddies, I feel like I haven't been fair to you. I feel like I've been doing a little bit too much of the, oh my god, look at how to smash Zergs, look at how to pummel them into the ground and that sort of thing. And I'm aware of it, but there's just been so many cool games that Protoss and Terrans have done that I can't help but check some of those out. So I am aware of this, and I just wanted to let you beautiful, beautiful, handsome Zerg users, and of course for the Zerg users who are female out there, you gorgeous, beautiful, suave women, that I will be addressing the Zerg as well. So of course, to all the pretty people out there, don't you worry, we like to be balanced here on the Zdaily. But what we're going to see in this game is LoveTT, who's playing under like Ed J. Baker or something in this game, but I'm going to try to be calling him LoveTT. He's playing against OGS Zenio, who you may know as a Zerg who got to the top 4 of the GSL, losing out to Nesty, who eventually won the whole thing. But I mean, Zenio's good. He knocked out Idra. Oh, I mean, he's just your all-around, very, very solid, very modern Korean-style Zergs. Now, if any of you did check the statistics that are on the Korean server, that Blizzard published not long ago, Zergs were at, I think, 57% win rate against Protosses, and on the other servers, Protoss are knocking the Zergs down. But it seems like on the Korean servers, the Zergs are the ones who are really bringing the noise. So I really think that that's because they're making very, very good use of roaches, and occasionally banelings in there, but mainly using that roach as the linchpin. And of course, and not to de-emphasize things like mutalisks, which have always been good. The Korean people are using that as well. But still, I think that that's something that is making the Korean players perform better at the very least, is the fact that they're just being very, very fancy with their roachage. So we're going to see OGS Zenio here, then sending his guys to split. And this is something I've been mildly curious about. I'm just going to start doing this because I just want to plant the seed in your mind of, is this actually going on anywhere else? Notice that at 0 seconds, okay, we have the timer starting, and then at 4 seconds they actually begin moving. I'm kind of wondering if some people's screens load a little bit earlier than others, because like the game starts, yeah, and this guy goes at like 1 second, but we see Zenio already sending his out. I've been actually rewatching a lot of my replays going, I wonder why this person is starting like 3 or 4 seconds before that person. So, I don't know. Probably might even be just players who are, you know, a little bit faster than the other ones, but hey, why not plant the seed of misery and doubt so that way you can go, oh, the only reason I lose Zerg vs. Protoss is because he is 3 seconds ahead of me when sending his initial 6 workers. Oh, if only I had those 3 extra seconds. Either way, we have Ed J. Baker, who's LoveTT. At the bottom right, we have our Zerg buddy, OGS Xenio. In the top left, it is Jungle Bassin. Obvious things to note, we have this very little narrow choke at our entrance that helps to defend our backdoor natural expansion. There is, however, a destructible rock right here. There's a little destructible rock here, so that can potentially cause a little damage. And now I'm going to repeat something that I say all the time. What is one of the most important aspects of a map? It is, when do I take my third base, or how do I take my third base? I always say that that's a big thing, because generally your first major attack, or if like you're playing Zerg, defending the first major attack against you really centers around and directly relates to that third expansion. If you're Zerg, that first big attack is probably going to happen right as your third's kind of getting up and running, or maybe if it's been up and running a little bit and there's that vulnerability of the third, or if you're Protoss or Terran and you're pushing against your Zerg buddy, when do you take that third expansion? Generally around the time of your first push. So that's always an important question I ask myself. And on this one, most players, most Protosses and Terrans are taking this center one, because basically they move out here to attack. They go joink up here and take this one. We actually saw that in the last daily that we did, which was Jinro against Moon. Jinro was Terran and ended up plopping down a planetary fortress right here and looked fancy in the process. We do have Jay Baker throwing down his gateway. Everything seems well and normal in the Protoss world. They don't see a gas. Guys are getting thrown down yet, but a lot of Protosses are becoming comfortable with the idea of building a gateway and then getting an assimilator at like 15, so doing like 14, 15 instead of the more usual like 12, 13, or 13, 14. Pool going down for our good friend Xenio, probe heading up for Dr. Baker. Now, I'm going to go ahead and just say a couple of things right now that we just want to be aware of. Just getting all the basic opening jazz out of the way, making sure everyone's familiar with the maps, making sure everyone's familiar with the players, but here's the thing that really turned me on when I saw LoveTT play this game. He took familiar concepts, the sort of same old general stuff that a lot of Protosses do, but he did another interesting twist on it. Because so often, so often, even some of the best Diamond players out there fall into these buckets of thoughts, these entrapped little silos where they just kind of do things and just sort of take it for granted, and it's hard to sort of break free out of something that you've built up as a habit for so long. So for instance, there's a couple of things that, like Blink Stalkers, everyone knows are good. There's some of those early pushings against Zerg that everyone kind of knows are good. There's like early expanding, everyone knows is good. And then there's big formations with Colossus that everyone sort of knows are good, right? These are themes that you see a lot. But again, it is so important that in a strategy game, it's not that we do something. It is when we do something and in what order we do those things. Man, that was a profound thing that was just spaketh. Say it one more time. It is not that you do something. It is when you do it and in what order you do it. So we're going to see a lot of little cool things happen out of it. And at the same time, generally, it's the weirder things that people tend to pick up on. The stuff that they've never, ever seen before that are like super weird. It's not only that they've never seen it before, but it's like really eye-catching. Like, for instance, if someone's strategy was to make Banelings to kill other Banelings that they've made, like suiciding your own units on each other, people would generally do a lot of that. Oh my god, oh that's so weird, so innovative. That would be the thing that stands out. So for instance, right now, we do see that our Protoss buddy made a gateway, made a gas, and whoa, he's actually not using either of them. He's going straight for an early expansion. Whoa! And then let's see some sophistication. Let's not analyze it yet. Let's just say everything that's going on. After he takes that expansion, he immediately plops down a Zealot. And then he's going to toss 3 guys into gas. And he will begin teching. Oh, goodness. Here comes down a Cybernetics core. Wow. That was something far out, right? Like, that is something that not a lot of people do. Now, first, I want to say a little bit more of what he did and some potential reasons for it. And then I'm going to say the most important thing in the universe, right? So just another things. Perhaps what he noticed is that if he went straight along the tech path, like a gateway and a core and maybe got some warp gates and some more units, maybe he hit a point where he said, yeah, but I can't really attack in a lot of circumstances because, hey, there's this thin, tiny little ramp. I can't really put that much pressure on if I go straight for the cybernetics core. And then on the other side of the coin, maybe LoveTT said, yeah, but if I go straight for an expansion, this is just way too late. So he has two conflicting things. In some circumstances, he really wants to expand. In other circumstances, he really wants to do this fast tech. And in some situations, it's the worst thing in the world to go fast tech. And it's the worst thing in the world to go for early expansion, right? So what he does is he builds that gateway. And notice that his probe got to his opponent's base right when that gateway was done. And then he's kind of like, ooh, let's check on this. Okay, I don't see a gas. I don't see any lings being made. There's not really any threat. Okay, so I'm going to make my nexus. And then I can get my cybernetics core really, 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 really fast. Let's do another example that's really similar. How many of you Protosses build a forge because you say, you know, I just don't know what he's doing yet. I would like to have gone Nexus first and then my forge, but just because I don't know, I'm going to build my forge first and then, oh, now I know that I do need some cannons. Let me build them. Or, oh, now I know that I don't need any cannons, so I will build my Nexus after I've built that forge. It's kind of a technique that delays the expansion a little bit, but you get all this benefit from having this little early structure. But I think the most important thing that I want to say right now is that I don't really give a shit about this. This is not the important thing of this replay for me. It is not. This is not important. The fact that he built a gateway, built an assimilator, didn't use the gateway, didn't mine any gas, and then took an expansion, and then made a cybernetics core, holy shit, I don't care, okay? I really, sincerely, genuinely give the minutest of fucks about that. And I think that's a pretty important thing to note right now, because again, you heard me say, people will pick up on the weird, crazy stuff. People will see this and go, oh, I want to do that build. Oh, and then I'll be Gosu times 2. No, you won't. You'll probably be confused. You'll probably end up losing, and then you'll think, well, this build sucks, and you'll throw it away, and then the most tragic thing will happen. You will throw away all the amazing, great stuff that LoveTT did. It will make me sad. So, what I would describe this thing that we see here, what I would describe, let me actually rewind so that way we can see it all happen again and talk a little bit about it while it's happening. I will just hit the B button a few more times. When I see this sort of thing happen, plus this little scout, I mean, notice that he sees that, oh, geysers just started all this stuff. When I see something like this, I say, wow, this is a player who developed a plan a long time ago. An overall basic plan, and encountered, after 500 or so games of practicing this, said, there's these two little problems I'm encountering, and doing this delay and then this expand will help solve those two little problems of these 500 games I've played. I'm going to say that one more time. It really looks like Protoss developed a really nice plan, but was having a difficulty with maybe one or two things here and there. And this crazy, insane, nutty thing is probably his way of saying, and now cool, I can deal with those one or two different things well. Really, 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 really important to note. It's very, very, very important to note, because that is something that so many players will get caught up on. I actually, let's look at the time. We've been recording for about 14 minutes right now, so I probably spent 3 or 4 minutes emphasizing this, because that's really how important it is to note that what this little Dr. Baker is doing, aka what LoveTT is doing, is not really something we care that much about. What I would describe this as is a 1-gate, expand, and a fast cybernetics core, and fast 2 gas. Do this however you want to do it. A faster 2nd gateway, cool. Do this however you want to do it. Don't do this as super specifically as going gateway, assimilator, and not knowing why you did it. If one day you hit a situation and you're saying, God, I just can't figure out how to stop this one build that he does every 30 games, you might consider this. But again, don't create some funky, weird, problematic opening if it's not actually solving a problem that you know about. In the meantime, Zenio is expanding. He has his double queen. This is so dry and boring. 2 queens, making larvae, getting ready to vomitage. Expo up for Dr. Baker, for Dr. LoveTT, and hey, cool, yeah, awesome. So this is a familiar little look. This is a familiar look to our usual Protoss play. Just pushing out early with two what I would call a little bit of the more core units. Sentries are cutesy units, but pushing out with like a Zealot and a Stalker. That's what Huck likes to do. Pushing out with 2 Stalkers, that's what Kiwikaki likes to do. Pushing out with 2 Zealots early, this is what LoveTT likes to do. And as we've noted, forced him to make some lings. Very traditional, expected stuff. Look, moving forward, moving right back. We have these 2 gateways going down. All right, awesome. Due to some funky ordering on things, it doesn't look like LoveTT really has that much money left over. But yeah, it looks good. He's getting his gas geysers up. He's making a lot of probes, it looks like. Doing a good job not getting supply blocked. And let's go to Camp Zenio briefly. He's getting a fast Roach Warren and a fast layer. He has made a lot of drones. A ton of drones, actually. Yeah, looks good. Looks normal. Again, we're going to see this hallucination happen. I don't really care so much about that. I don't really care as much. If someone does a tactic that involves hallucination, that could be one thing. For instance, in Protoss vs. Protoss, players were doing a hallucinated Colossus because that can stomp over force fields. So that way, if I go 4 Warp Gate plus hallucinate, and you went like 2 Warp Gate with like Phoenixes, and you're hoping to force field your front, won't work, because I will make a hallucinated Colossus, I will stomp over your force fields, and I will run up your ramp for victory. That is a tactic that relies purely on the hallucinate. I'm comfortable with that. What we're going to see here, though, is he's going to hallucinate a Phoenix and just sort of look around. I don't really care that much about that. We're going to see, like, really explicitly why we don't care as much. Could potentially be something that we really like later on, but not something I really want you guys to focus on. Still, I want you to see that this is pretty typical Protoss early expandy stuff. Pretty typical. And then we'll start identifying when stuff becomes non-typical in a moment. Oh, let me just yawn, because... excuse me, this game is just so boring. Oh, it's so ordinary, and there's a forge going down. For cannons and upgrades, Evo Chamber from Zenio, very typical timing. Oop, we got Glial Reconstitution. Nothing started out of our Evo Chambre yet. Keeping this Stalker back. And then we're going to see something that's also pretty typical in the mid-game. The big ol' multi-gateway Stalker play. Now this is something that a lot of Protosses did, but I think that the big blunder a lot of Protosses made when they would go 6 Warp Gate is they would take a force about this size, maybe a little bit more, and then they would push. They would push with too small of an army. If you go download TT1's games from the MLG Dallas event, the one where he got 2nd place, he rolls Zergs because he waits many production cycles. I'm here. Now, I just want to note that right up until this point, everything that Protoss is doing has been pretty much blind, right? He's getting this Phoenix here. He hasn't scouted that there's a drone here. He hasn't scouted that there's nothing here. He did scout that there was no expansion here, but he hasn't even seen the Evo Chamber. He hasn't even seen the Roach Warren. He hasn't seen any of that. He is straight up going for Forge, and he's even getting a Twilight Council really quickly. Now that is pretty damn significant. That's part of the reason why I was like, ignore the hallucinate, because people are going to get this order they're going to get it out of order in their heads, right? They're going to see the hallucinate, they're going to see all the fancy Blink Stalker stuff, and then they'll conclude, because it seems to make logical sense, oh, I guess he got the hallucinated Phoenix to see if a bunch of roaches were coming, at which point he concluded that Blink Stalkers was the best. And then that little player will go home and say, I guess Blink Stalker counters roaches. But as we clearly see, he's going for this long before he even gets a chance to see what's in the main. So I don't care as much about any sort of Phoenix jazz. Yep, nothing really too noteworthy being seen. Xenio taking his third right now. Okay, so we see some roaches being pestering at the back. Here, all these gateways finishing up. There's the +1 going down. Very low on energy on those next side. Doing a good job chrono boosting important things. And as usual, Zerg going to try to open up these back attack paths. And here is some stuff that I just really, really like that I think is kind of specific to this map. He's going to start just leaving all these defensive type things at the back and leave more of his attacking units, the Stalkers, moving around aggressively to all sorts of good locations. Oh no, it does get taken out. But notice that the Blink, the Forge is going down, the Cannon's going down. This is still pretty typical stuff that Protoss is really kind of having to hold back. And this is what I started to find a little bit unusual. With about this army size, this is when your average Protoss bear pushes out. Right? This looks normal to me as a usual attack force for that little mid-game attack force. But instead we're going to see LoveTT not do that. He's making even more gateways. And what is he going to see? He sees Roach Burrow at the front. So he has to rebuild this. And here it looks like Blink is also coming. This Cannon's coming up. He's playing completely defensively on this map. He's going to take this out. I don't even see a Robo Bay yet. Don't even see it at all. And a probe going this direction. And it looks like, after a few shots, looks like Xenio's going to have to do a little bit of burrowing action. But yeah, I mean, I was a little surprised that only now was a Robo Bay going down. After 8 gateways, it's an awful lot of gateways. He actually probably could have cut down on that a little bit. I mean, he can even probably be building out of some more of these warp gates. And here's the Blink coming out right now, and yeah, here comes some more unusualness from our good little Protoss buddy. Now, I just want to give you a little quiz, right? Why did I say that this was the most reasonable location for a third, right? This location right here, this is probably the smartest spot for a third base. We saw Jinro do it in the game on last Thursday. We see most players do it in most games. Why is that tending to be the most commonly taken base for Terrans and Protosses? Zerg buddies, you can sort of pocket that for now because Zergs do tend to expand to the sides. But Protosses and Terrans, why do you do that? While you take time to answer that quiz, I ran out of water. Stay here, stay here, stay here. I promise I'll be back. Oh, how unprofessional of me, but I'm thirsty. And I'm back. Okay, look, I was sitting right outside my room. Ah, delicious LA tap water. Okay. Oh, oh no. Oh no, the GIF's being created. Oh no. Let me put this on slowly. Oh man. Oh, I totally facialed myself. Just blasted myself, man. Unbelievable. A well-deserved headshot. Anyways, all right. For any of you, who are curious, the main reason that this is the most common thing to take is that it's the easiest to defend based upon the movement of these stalkers. Right? Early pushes move generally through the center of the map. It's easy to reinforce, like by reinforcing your main push. Like, for example, suppose there was a Nexus here. By reinforcing the main push, you'd actually be defending the expansion. I mean, just look at how safe this looks. So the fact that Protoss was expanding here, I found very, very unusual. So Baker went for the 6 Warp Gate and for the kind of delayed Blink, and then moved out a little bit later. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool. And also playing defensively a little longer because there's roaches. But yeah, look at this. And now he's just passive. Now he's just kind of hanging out, chilling. This was very weird to me, the fact that he wasn't pushing here, the fact that he was just sort of hanging out. And he sees some roaches. And yeah, just very, very passive play to try to establish this expansion, to try to set this bad boy Expo up. And I really think that some of the best players out there are the players who are able to figure out very clever ways to defend lots and lots and lots of expansions. Expanding to places that seem to be, you know, supposedly the other guy's expo. You know, it's like closer to the opponent. But still, it ends up being easier to defend because of some little clever subtlety they exploit. Now, just for the record, you can actually do this sort of stuff with Blink Stalkers. Not with all Protoss armies, but the fact that you can blink down like that is really good. But really, this is an entire push devoted to setting up this expansion. A lot of players will take this first push and try to go for the kill. I would probably have to study this replay a lot to figure out what exactly is that he saw. Totally will happily admit it. I don't see a clear reason he didn't push into one of those expansions. It could quite possibly be the case that it was a mistake. It could be the case that I look at it again and go, no, you know what, he absolutely should have gone and attacked that expansion. However, I want you to note the following. If you see this sort of thing, and you can't figure it out, and you don't know, you can still mimic it and have it work, right? Like, the reason that I don't think it's clear is because in all this fancy movement, he still has his whole army, and he has an expansion up. The "and has an expansion up" is kind of a big deal for me. Getting extra expansions up is almost always the primary goal of any build I'm doing. Really, that's super important. And now, here comes something, yet again, is very weird. The 2 base, 2 Robo Colossus, commonplace. Common. 1 Robo, 2 Robo, the big death ball. But I want you to just kind of note this position that we're going to be in. In about 3 minutes, we're going to be in a spot where there is a Protoss death ball, which would be Stalkers plus Colossi, and also plus Blink, in a 3 base versus 3 base battle. Now, normally, if you're going for the big, you know, Stalker Colossus Ball of Death, it's 2 base as Protoss versus 3 base as Zerg. But somehow LoveTT has made it 3 base versus 3 base. That's clever. That's very clever that he said, okay, well, let me delay those Colossi for a long time. Let me just move out with Blink Stalkers. I can do a lot of damage. Don't have to, but I could. Zerg feels threatened. Zerg wants to make a lot of roaches. Zerg has to pull back. Has Zerg gotten to do all the teching that he wants to do? Well, I see exactly 1 Evo chamber has gotten these guys a +1 upgrade. I don't see a second Evo. Has he even researched that yet? Let's find out. No, he hasn't researched anything from the Hydra Den. Yeah, and Zerg only has this 1 base up. Yeah, Zerg's actually not doing as well as he'd normally like. That's actually quite cool to see. Because, I mean, really, the honest way that Protoss and Zerg used to sort of battle was that Protoss would kind of do a little pushing, be a little bit aggressive. And then Zerg would kind of defend and try to expand. And then Protoss would back off, because Protoss had to back off and build up the scary 2 base Colossus timing push. And Zerg would go, oh right, now's my time to get up everything I need, and hopefully I'll be able to hold off this Colossus timing push. But in this case, Protoss kind of did a little bit of a poke, and then, Zerg's being aggressive, defend. I'm getting Blink really fast, but once I get Blink, I'm just going to use it to get a 3rd, and then I'm going to get the Colossus. I think that that's something that a lot of Zergs would kind of be shocked, quite shocked about. The fact that this 3rd got up so fast, so safely. Oh, and there's some very nice Blink play. Yeah, look, 3 base versus 3 base. Here comes some haphazardly thrown down force fields, but to be honest, almost any force field placement with long-range units against short-range units is going to be good. Doing a moderate amount of damage. I mean, if you note here, Protoss actually appears to be way behind his opponent. Now, again, the reason I think that this is so clever, this expansion is probably the biggest key to everything, why I think it's very clever. At this point in the game, if this were, again, 2 base against 3 base, how often has this happened to you? You go out with your Colossus Stalker Ball, and you encounter 1,000,000 roaches. The 1,000,000 roaches kill you. And you go, ugh. So you start making some Immortals, and at this point in the game, you're struggling to get your 3rd up. Hasn't even finished. Maybe your cannons are still warping in. You're in struggle bear mode. And you look at the food, and it's like 1,000,000 versus 100 food. You have 100 food. He has 1,000,000 food. It's terrible. This is almost exactly what we see here in this game, but suddenly, Whoa, look at that. It's 188 food versus 113 and an expansion. Wow, that's actually pretty good. Now, all of a sudden, at around this point in the game, I started to really realize why this expansion placement was so brilliant. I'm used to the style of play that would be very forceful. You know, we'd get our 8 gateways and our rowboat, and we'd push here, and we'd expand here, and we'd begin drilling this part of the map, and just drill, 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 advance, advance, advance. And what this rowboat would really be doing is making Immortal, something that I can get quickly, something that can really bolster my push, something that will allow me to sort of end immediately. But notice that this little tiny ramp and this little tiny ramp is extremely easy to defend. And look what Baker's doing, aka LoveTT. He's just walling off the entrance to his main. That is very clever. This is very, very clever. You heard me say before, a lot of good players, I would call good because they learn how to defend a lot of bases in a very clever way. 196 food versus 128 food. Gonna go ahead and warp in a sentry. Force felled. There's gonna be almost no way that this giant, incredibly scary roach force can even bust up in here. Just gonna wall this off. Absolutely, completely, and totally safe. Very cutesy. We even have some Reavers out, or Colossi out. Whoops. Don't really see any other upgrades coming up out of this forge. Just kind of chilling at the 2-0. So all of a sudden, it's still 3 base for Zerg versus 3 base for Protoss. Isn't that cool? That he did this push timing, got this 3rd base, but then did it in a way that was very, very cleverly placed. I think that is quite cool. Thinking about the 3rd base and how you take it is one of those core ideas that will really make you a million times better than everyone else in your league if you just know how to take those 3rds early. That's really the curse of a lot of those high-level diamonds, that they do amazing 2-base play and 2-base pushes, but they really can't do much else. And as usual, Blink Stalkers are an effective way to deal with Mutalisk. And look at Protoss slowly catching up. Ordinarily, what would make this such a good spot for Zerg is the fact that Zerg would have all these extra bases up. But Zerg really only has 1 base that he can take quite comfortably. And then look, again, look at this push coming out. This big Colossus Stalker push. You heard me say several times, it's not that you did a huge Stalker Colossus push. It is how you did that Stalker Colossus push and in what order and when. This is very, very, very late. Of course Colossi are great units, but if you get them fast, it sucks. Not Colossi suck, but what you're doing sucks, right? Because you have 4 Colossi and 8 gateway units, and he has 50 roaches. So he just runs up and one-shots the Colossi and half your gateway units, one-shots the next Colossi and the other half your gateway units. And you have 2 Colossi there just kind of walking over the roaches and can't get away in time. But again, that 3rd base timing and the fact that he waited a long time to get these Colossi. And again, notice this little combo. Blink Stalkers is something people go in contrast to something like 2-base Colossus. You see players like Kiwikaki who just go mass Blink Stalkers and that's it. Just Blink Stalker, Blink Stalker, Blink Stalker, Blink Stalker. You see players like Huck who have a tendency to do a lot of the 2-basing big Colossus type stuff. Recently that's been changing, but especially on the Korean servers, holy cow do those guys love their 2-base Colossus pushes. Oh my god, they adore them. And yeah, that's what they'll do forever, right? They'll do their little 2-base push or their Blink Stalker push. That's it. One or the other. But we're seeing the Blink Stalkers were used to sort of get in the way to set up this 3rd. And then, of course, Stalker Colossi is almost always going to be a strong composition. Look at it just obliterating these roaches quite well. And then we see huge more surges of units sort of pushing out. But again, great. Look at this amazing little defensive position there. Kind of like how in Blistering Sands, people wall in their front and then use the back door as the way to exit. That's really, really clever. He's using this as the farthest away back door possible. And then advancing forward. This is just awesome. I noticed that this really closed it down to 1 entrance, 2 entrances, and that's about it. Kind of ignoring this one, but really there's basically 1 big choke and 1 very, very little choke. And then as a result, because he has this expansion, he can easily attack this one or easily attack this one. it's quite easy for him to push. And then, normal, usual, good stuff. He cuts up in between this base on the right and this main, and as he's doing that, he expands, attack and expand at the same time, cut in between bases. Doing the cut in is so key. Oh, it's so great. It's not just that he's going Blink Stalkers, it's not just that he's going Colossus with Stalker Balls, it's the fact that he did this Blink Stalker Ball in a very, very nice order to get up a third, was very calm, and used the Blink Stalkers not as a tool to try to win immediately, but instead as a tool to secure the map, free up his movement a little bit, and get up many an expo. This was just great, great, solid little play. And look, Zerg just can't seem to get a fourth up. Zerg got 3 bases exactly when he wanted, but really could not get a 4th base because he was constantly worried about when Protoss would be pushing out. And because this has been a little bit shorter of an analysis, we're actually going to rewind and get the chance to see exactly what it felt like from Zergy's point of view. And as usual, we see a little push up here. This could potentially have done more damage if Zerg had positioned it a little better, but actually could have done a lot less damage if there was just a sentry there to throw that down. I think 1 sentry should be left here, throw down a force field, especially considering they gain energy. You can do like 6 force fields. Plus you can actually do 4 if they're fully charged, but I exaggerate things by exactly 50%. And then we see that, you know what? Protoss still is not ahead of Zerg in food. Protoss has not actually been ahead of Zerg in food for an incredibly long time. In the unit counting station, they even have approximately the same amount of workers, but really, the way Protoss is sort of pulling this off is very, very clever. Yeah, cannons here, because if he has this base up, then he's kind of secured this back path. Oh, roaches. Oh, no. Oh, no. Help. At this point, I'm probably going to be doing a lot of giggling, because I think Protoss has pretty much secured the Vic. Now, this force, this looks a lot like someone who went 1 base, 2 Robo, right? This amount of units, probably a few more Stalkers. This looks a lot like that, but notice that we're at the 22-minute mark, and it's the first time we've had 5 Colossi out on the map with about, 12, 14 Stalkers down. Very, very clever little rearrangement. And what I'm about to do after this is probably going to be more important in this initial analysis. So, in fact, most of you who are probably the type to watch the first half of the daily and then close it, after I do some sort of rewind, I would strongly recommend you stay for this part, because we're going to see how uncomfortable this really felt for Zerg. And, again, why this was such a clever play from LoveTT. We didn't actually have to watch the remainder of that part of the game. Whoops. But it was fun to watch a whole bunch of Protoss units just wander around and do the terrorizing. So let's kind of advance forward to, I guess, halfway through this game. This is where a bunch of roaches are pushing up here. Yeah, let's go to production. And let's go to, the Xenio camp. So we're doing an expand here. We're making a Spire. That's good because, again, 2-base Colossus. Perfect, right? Perfect. Again, notice that general feel that Zerg has. He can either go for Blink Stalkers and try to push me all scary-like, or he could go for huge 2-base Colossus type stuff. It's an either-or kind of scenario. So I'm going to get the Spire just in case I need to throw out some Corruptors. I'm going to keep making some Roaches because I poke in here. Oh, okay, so he's going Blink Stalker. Oh, okay, alright, I'm with you. We see that Burrow has now been finished. We even see the Burrow movement. That gives us a little more flexibility to continue to put on pressure. You see a lot of drones getting made because this expansion just finished. See all those drones being made up there? Perfect. There's the infestation pit. He's basically thinking to himself, I'm going to go Roach Stalker because I really want to be able to deal with this. Now, notice how that feels right there. That feels quite scary, quite intimidating. We're pushing at the front, and then we unburrow. We're just going to run away, and uh-oh. Oh my god, how many roaches do I have? I have 15 roaches. Well, here's half of them. Here's a little bit more of them, and yeah, there's the rest of the roaches. Ooh, uh-oh. I don't even have my second hatch up. Oh no. Do I have +1 yet? Let me actually click on this guy. Yep, looks like we have +1. And I'm just getting my expansion started. Ooh, I don't really like that too much, right? That feels kind of yucky. So let's go back and let's try to see what could have possibly been done. And for the record, I'm actually just going to try to relog on Ventrilo because it just disconnected me. Which is not good because I'm praying for the fact that my internet is actually still working. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go to Google. Google Loves. I'm going to go try to stalk someone on Facebook really fast. Successfully stalked. Alright, sorry, the stream's still on. Isn't live technology fun? Either way, all I'm doing with this rerun through is say, holy cow, look at how uncomfortable this feels for Zerg. Now, for the record, a lot of people want to say, well, this expansion, if he had just known that expansion was getting up, he would have been able to hold it off. No, he wouldn't have, because it's 19 Stalkers versus 15 Roaches, and the Stalkers have Blink, and in production we only have 3 of those Roaches moving out. Zerg is basically saying, alright, that's fine, I'm going to focus more on getting my Expos up, and you can kind of move out and be aggressive, and you might have a delayed third, but that's okay. Alright, so look, nothing but Roaches being produced. Queen's dying. We have our Roaches at the back that can't really do anything. Uh-oh, okay, regroup. I'm feeling good. There's third. Here comes all the Roaches. Yeah, coming out. Yep, more Roaches popping up. Uh-oh, we're getting zapped back here. We're going to try to burrow. We're going to try to retreat, but it looks like, yeah, has some sort of observer on there. And as we know that Protoss is just sort of chilling here. But look at Zerg, who's kind of like, ugh, kind of leery, is only just now poking out. Uh-oh, oh my gosh, that's a lot of Stalkers. Oh, I'm getting blinked at. Okay, we see 2 drones being made, but 5 Roaches. Really feeling the heat of that. Really feeling like he's under a lot of pressure. This is just putting pressure on, because this expansion feels so vulnerable. Even Caesar just sort of wanting to chill in between. Uh-oh. Now, for the record, yeah, there's an expand going down here. But what really can Zerg do? What is he? Is Zerg gonna move right through this area where he can be seen? You know, Zerg doesn't really have that much maneuverability. In the unit counting station, we see it's 32 Roaches versus a lot of Stalkers. All these Roaches are being created with a defensive sort of mindset. And look, we see more Roaches and more Infestors being made. What Zerg's really doing is saying, gosh, you are doing a hardcore Stalker with Blink. I'm going to get such a huge army that I will crush your Stalker with Blink force. But as it turns out, it was just a get an expansion up force. Now, let's just advance through this a little bit more quickly. So now Zerg's starting to go, hey, uh-oh. I made all these units. I kind of got to do an attack. And by the way, this might be the worst feeling in the world when you just see probes getting transferred because you go, oh, there's an expansion, is there? Oh, oh. So that was very nice timing. And now the expansion's up. I mean, Protoss has kind of felt around the map. He has felt like he is everywhere. And now the Roaches come up. It started as a few Roaches for harassment. And, oh, Roaches are the easiest thing for me to make. I'll make a few more. Oh, Roaches are still the easiest thing for me to make. I'll make a few more. I'll make a few more. And uh-oh, there suddenly is the worst feeling known to man. You've been thinking defense. You've been feeling under pressure. And there is a finished expansion there. Finished expansion, so advancing right along. Moving ahead in time. Now he's starting to go, uh-oh, I need to take these units. I need to do some attacking. We see Mutalisk being made to possibly take advantage of all the different things going on. And it's this period in time where Protoss is not actually moving around the map anymore. From the Zerg point of view, it doesn't feel like we've crushed any Protoss force, but we do finally feel a little bit of freedom as the Zerg pieces. For the first time, we feel a little bit of freedom to move around the map, but we have no options. That's exactly the way you want your play to feel, where your opponent has this huge force but doesn't really know anything to do with it. And now here come the Mutalisks in the back, getting a little excited, but extremely fast reaction time. And where the hell did all these units come from? Oh no, how tragic. Looks like Protoss is still staying in good position. Protoss is just actually being extremely patient with all these units. He's only really engaging here once he has a clear opportunity to start reinforcing. Uh-oh, looks like he's about to lose, but no, a whole bunch of Blink Stalkers come in. I mean, again, from the Xenio cam, we haven't gotten the chance to do anything but make Roaches. We started making Roaches, we kept making Roaches, and we were kind of forced to keep making Roaches. A little bit of deficiency going on there. So that is why I really love this strategy. Blink Stalkers are, of course, tough to deal with, but huge Colossi and Stalker Balls are tough to deal with. Wouldn't it be great if we could get the biggest Stalker Colossus Ball possible? Well, hey, if you open Blink Stalker and take a fast expansion and use the mobility to just poke and prod with your Stalkers to get your Expo up, yeah, hell, you can not only get the expansion and get the Colossi without any real pressure, but also you have a bunch of Stalkers left over in the end, so that is pretty kick-ass. Now, I would love to be able to log into IRC again. Connecting to the chat stream. You know, that's not actually working. So I'm going to see if one of my admins is on Skype. Hey, Marky. What up, Marky? Hey, Marky, can you paste large chunks of questions in here? Or are you even watching right now? And if that doesn't work, you know what? I'll log into my Ventrilo and I'll say hi to all the admins there. Be like, hey, what's up, guys? Can you paste me some questions? Because this is one of the delights of interactivity. Doing everything live is that if things go really, really, really wrong, it just happens. It just goes on air. It's permanently on record. So, of course, I'll get rid of my plugging in the meantime. Hey, go to DreamHack. I'll be at DreamHack. I'll be covering all of the event stuff for the Starcraft tournament. So I'm going to be casting for like 15 hours on Friday, something awesome. And then I'll be doing the daily there. I'll be doing a little daily at noon kind of actions. That will be pretty cool. And then, of course, I will be waving at people and hugging and embracing all the kind folks. I'm really excited to meet the creator of Manfred Marine. She shall be there. Yes, that's right. Manfred Marine. This is my bunny Manfred as Marine. Yes. Yes, that's right. So Marky. Hey, Marky responded. Marky! What's going on, Marky? Oh, it looks like Marky says that the chat servers are going berserk. So, can you get any questions at all? Now, to the dear, lovely archive viewers, I would like to say that you should definitely tune in live. Because sometimes I even get to see you and be like, hey, what's up? I do a lot of stuff before and after the show, not just with music, but also with me just telling goofy random stories. And of course, Day 9 fan, Red Ice 82, he like fraps it all and puts it on youtube.com/Day9fan. So if you want to be part of it, though, you can totally come on to www.day9.tv, which will also be the stream location for that, www.day9.tv. Oh, all right, awesome. KZN, who, of course, is a regular live viewer, we'll take one of his things. KZN says, Day 9, you have consistently either downplayed Hallucinate or suggested that it was not important, but you've never explained why. Ooh, that's a great question. Unless you open blind stargates, Hallucinate gives you by far the best scouting ability versus Zerg of anything. Why do you downplay it so much? That is a great question, and beautifully worded as well to address all the concerns. So fuck yeah, KZN, you're the man. The reason I like to downplay that sort of thing is because I like to downplay the general idea of scouting, to be honest. And when I say scouting, I mean scouting inside their base. Because how often have you done this, young Protoss players? When you first started playing Protoss a lot, you just wanted an observer quickly to just see what he was doing. There wasn't anything specifically that you were really looking for, but you just wanted to see. Or Zergs, you were getting Overlord speed every single game, getting an Overseer every single game so you could get in there. Not because you really wanted to see anything specific, but just because you wanted to see. And how many of you Protosses who went for that Observer every time, and how many of you Zergs who got Overlord speed every time, one day woke up and realized, well, if I do this, I don't even need to get the Observer. Or if I do that, I don't even need the Overlord speed. In fact, I don't even see into his base. That is the sort of play I am encouraging. So, for instance, I will tell you straight up that if you go for a lot of Blink Stalkers and there's just pretty much any number of ground forces just out and about, you're going to have a pretty easy damn time taking a third, whatever the ground forces are. Hydras, maybe not Zerglings, maybe you'll have to play a little bit more defensively, but you can scout that without a Phoenix or without an Observer. So that's the reason I really downplay it. It's absolutely good, but I want to emphasize the idea of doing build orders that are solid, that don't have some element where you scout them to counter your insecurity. That's what I mean. Don't scout to make yourself feel good. The reason It's great, though. The reason hallucinate is good is, let's suppose for a moment that if you scouted him going Zergling, your Blink Stalker wasn't working at all. Let's say in lots of experience that Zergling players were giving you trouble with your Blink Stalker, but you know what? Roaches were no problem at all. You might do the following. If I scout him going mass Zergling, I will instead get Zealot with leg speed and go mass speed Zealots. If instead I see him going Roaches, I will get mass Blink Stalker. So notice the clear two different things. I have enumerated the two possibilities. And then you say, well, shit, how do I scout really, really early to know if he's doing the mass Zergling or the mass Roaches? Aha! Hallucinate. You see what I mean? So, for instance, scouting options, you could say, well, I really need to know if he's doing this or if he's doing that. That's the start point. Is he doing A or is he doing B? What are my options for finding that out? Phoenixes, Void Rays, hiding probes. Let's actually remove hiding probes. Just Phoenixes, Void Rays, hallucinate, or observers. Which one seems to work best? Hallucinate. I know it wasn't that finger, but I'm not going to give you the one that it was beforehand. It's hallucinate, right? That's the best choice. So great. That is the way you should look at it. Your options for scouting before you are these. Which one's the best? That is a good way to put that. So that's why I downplay it. Because there's nothing more tragic than a guy who gets hallucinate and has no idea why, but he gets it just to satisfy his own inner insecurity. So KZN, thank you again for the kick-ass questions. Yeah. Let's see here. So, Plus Gravy says, Dear Day 9, you said that you would look again at why Toss didn't attack Zerg's third. How would you go about figuring out the right decision there? For me, I would have to look at it quite a bit. I would probably just rewind it and look at it, rewind it and look at it, and sort of play things out in my head, and rewind it and look at it, and rewind it and look at it. And honestly, there are sometimes situations where I will hit the doubt point. You know, I'll hit the point where I say, I don't actually know if 19 Stalkers can beat 30 Roaches. I don't actually know. Sounds hard for the Stalkers, but maybe it's possible with Micro. Tristan, what are you doing? Get on BattleNet. I want you to pick Zerg. I want you to make 30 Roaches, and I'm going to make 19 Stalkers. And then we sort of test that out. All right, Tristan, we're going to play on Jungle Basin. All right, okay, so we did the battle, and I won with 2 Stalkers left over. Well, you know what? How about I move over here to this piece of terrain, and let's battle again. And we just kind of battle a lot. I kind of have a little battle here, some battles there. You know, and that's how I develop my intuition, is I just test it out. Because I can't intuit if 19 Stalkers should beat 30 Roaches. It feels hard in my head, but I don't know. Let's give it a shot. Just test it. Look specifically for things to test. You can say things like, when I do this build, next time I'm against a Zerg who has a third there, I'm just going to try it, and then try it again and again. And then I have 3 replays of me, and then 1 replay of Mr. Zenio against Mr. LoveTT, and I can compare and contrast to my heart's content. Nifty, right? That's generally my process. Like, I just have a question to you Terran players out there who tried to do Fox or Marine stuff. How many of you said to a buddy, I need you to just make Banelings, and I'm only going to make Marines, and then we're going to get in the center, and I'm going to be on Ventrilo, and I'm going to say, all right, 3, 2, 1, send 8 Banelings. And you try to micro 12 Marines against 8 Banelings. And then you do that for an hour. How many of you have done that? First of all, it's really fun, because if you completely fuck up, you go, whoa, whoopsie daisies. All right, back up, try again. And then once you like, can do it, what's the word? Not expertise it, execute it. There we go. Once you can execute that sort of control, then you go into a ladder game, and your hands do it for you, and you go, ooh, hands. Yes, hands. Thank you. It is a delightful feeling. Like, seriously, you should do it. Just do it. It's so fun. And last question. Dun 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 dun. Let's take this question from Mole, who says, Dear Day 9, do you feel like building Mutalisks was a bad choice? Would Zerg be in better shape if he had made Hydralisks instead? How do you engage as Zerg, the army that Protoss built? There's a lot of questions in there. I first want to focus on the unit choice after the third base was up. Rhett worded this very, very well a while ago. That it's a terrible feeling to prepare for some big, scary timing push, and then he just doesn't do the timing push. I think actually the way he specifically worded it was like, yeah, you can't make 12 lings there, because even though the 12 lings can hold the attack, if you make 12 lings and he doesn't attack, you're fucked. And it's like, yeah, exactly. That's a great way to put it. And I really think that Xenio had a great way of holding off a 2-base Blink Stalker mad crazy aggression. Because again, 3 bases versus 2 base, just wait it out. Because 3 bases has more resources than 2 bases. You will eventually win by virtue of starvation. So we had this beautiful thing set up. Okay, he's going to make a few roaches. He's going to put pressure. And then all of a sudden, oh my god, I'm suddenly under pressure. He's suddenly putting pressure back on me. Do I make Zerglings? Well, I don't have the speed upgrades. I don't have Carapace. I don't have the melee upgrades. So no. Do I make Hydralisks? I don't really have the range upgrade. I don't really have that much money coming in either. You know what? I'm going to make Roaches because I have the speed, I have the burrow, I have the +1 attack. I already have some Roaches. All right, let's make some Roaches. And then you kind of start making Roaches, then it's alright, he's looking good, and then you keep making Roaches, alright, I think I can hold it off. And there's an expansion that comes up, and it's like, oh. So in my eyes, the Mutalisks that Zerg made, I think was a little bit more of like a panic move. That's more of one of those kind of, oh shit, I just made 60 Roaches to hold off a push, and that push didn't come, and he has an expansion, and he's going for the Death Ball that I hate so much on 3 bases instead of 2. Let me make some Mutalisks to see if I can do that, do some damage. And then the Mutalisks went in there, and they didn't do much, so okay, time to retreat. I personally think that maybe Broodlords could have worked kind of well. And because that makes sense in my eyes for 2 reasons. First of all, Broodlords are just kind of a good unit against that sort of Stalker Ball. We already have some Infestors, so we can get the Hive a little bit easily. We already have a Spire, so we can get the Greater Spire a little easily. But probably most importantly, if we make like 60 or 70 Roaches, and he doesn't attack, so we can't use him for defense, well, we better use them for offense, otherwise they were a wasted investment. What's the best way to bolster Roaches? Broodlords. Use the Broodlords to bust the positions and then run the Roaches up. And then you got the Broodlings with the Roaches and the Broodlords behind just wailing down. Very, very potent composition. Pretty inexpensive as well. So I like that choice quite a bit. But I honestly think that Zerg was probably just taken aback quite a bit. Xenio looked so prepared and looked very much so like he had the sort of, okay, I'm going to do this, all these steps, I'm going to build up, and then ta-da, I have 3 bases, Roach Infester, Roach Infester, Roach Infester, try to break this motherfucker. And then Protoss said, oh, no thank you, I dodge, I defer to your superseding judgment. And the Zerg kind of went, huh, you're supposed to attack. Yeah, And interestingly enough, this is the root of one of the most common forms of trash talking and post-game bitching ever when that exactly happens. When someone basically gets killed, or when someone is preparing for the huge attack and then the person doesn't attack and expands, they say, way to turtle, you turtler, don't even know how to attack. No, what are you talking about, trash talk? Trash talking guy wanted his opponent to attack, because that's the only way you could have won. And then when he doesn't attack, you don't have to, you're just too passive, you just sit on your butt. Well, of course, because it's the correct move. So with that, let's wrap up the Day 9 Daily. So Fun Day Monday, not for tomorrow, but for a week from tomorrow, submit to monday@day9.tv of you attacking every 5 minutes, and every 5 minutes you must publicly type a battle cry, letting your opponent know you're coming. It can be something like, onward, soldiers, or you can do a quote from your favorite movie, or something like that, but it should be different every 5 minutes, so just make sure you have some funny phrases there. And wing it when I say attack every 5 minutes. You can get to his base at the 5-minute mark, you can leave your base at the 5-minute mark, you can sort of be gathering your troops and sending them off, around the 5-minute mark. Just, want to see you attacking exactly every 5 minutes, 5, 10, 15, 20. Can't attack in between there, just gotta do those sort of attack timings. Wing it. And then, of course, for Newbie Tuesday, not on 2 days from now, but in a week and 2 days from now, I would like you to submit a replay of you being the Terran buddy. And you're against a Protoss player who does some sort of 1-gate early expand, 2-gate early expand, and you try to break it with some sort of early aggression, but you just can't quite crack it. or you try to counter it by early expanding yourself, but you still can't quite crack it. That very specific, nuanced situation. With that, I'm out. See you at DreamHack. Getting on a plane tomorrow. Got to do my laundry. See ya.